أنتم الذين بالمسيح تمتم المسيح قد لبستم Hallelujah. Good afternoon, my listening audience. We're partway through the fast of St. Peter and Paul, which maybe I'll talk about our next little series. Today I thought I would touch upon the idea of mixed marriages. And let me just read something that Father Schmemann wrote, who was an Orthodox theologian and former dean of St. Vladimir Seminary. In his book, For the Life of the World, he said, a marriage which does not constantly crucify its own selfishness and self-sufficiency, which does not die to itself, that it may point beyond itself, is not a Christian marriage. The real sin of marriage today is not adultery, or lack of adjustment or mental cruelty. It is the idealization of the family itself. The refusal to understand marriage is directed toward the kingdom of God. When it comes to mixed marriages, I think that the initial statement by Father Alexander Schmemann touches a very vital point. Over the years of my serving as pastor, especially in Montreal, because Canadians have a completely different idea, in a way, than the rest of North Americans. You may think I'm crazy, but I'm not. Because I noticed in North America, and I've been in several parishes here in Tucson, where there's a great deal of converts. Whenever it seems that the whole family embraces Orthodoxy. And if it's a mixed marriage, it's almost axiomatic that the non-Orthodox person in the marriage becomes Orthodox. Now, it's been my position that I don't force people to become Orthodox. It says somewhere, I think in the Quran, there is no compulsion in religion. I wish they would listen to that themselves. There's no compulsion in religion. But living in Quebec all those years, I noticed that the couples that came to be married, if there was a mixed marriage, I just remember, and this is not a general rule, either in North America or in Canada or in Quebec, but I've had the experience, let's say just in general, had the experience that when it comes to mixed marriages, usually it's the wife and her family that say, well, I was raised Roman Catholic, and I will stay Roman Catholic, and I will raise my children in the Catholic faith. God, I've heard that time and time and time again. I haven't heard it so much with people from the United Church of Christ or from the Episcopal Church, but I certainly did hear it a great deal from young women that were raised in the Catholic faith. Now, I never made a big deal about it. And later they all became prismated. But I felt, like Father Schmemann, if we don't crucify somehow ourselves and our egos in a marriage, that marriage is doomed to fail. Because I've seen it time and time again, and I tell them, don't make religion an obstacle in your marriage. For heaven's sakes, if you agree to get married in the Orthodox faith, if you're a Roman Catholic, you join the church through confession of faith and or chrismation or both. But if you want a family to stay united, if you want to give your kids a firm foundation, why should the kids hear from their parents, well, we're celebrating Orthodox Easter and we're celebrating my Easter? You already put in the minds of your children a divided house, divisiveness in religion, in faith. Do you think when we die that there's a Catholic heaven and an Orthodox heaven, for God's sakes? I have found many, many, many women who have become very obstinate in the terms of retaining their own faith community when they get married. And then they wonder why later on the marriage fails. Because the man has to feel that he's the protector of his home. The woman is the heart of the family. They need to be together and complete each other in everything they do. But when there's this mindset that I am Catholic and I will stay Catholic and my kids will be Catholic, they already planted the seeds of their own destruction of their own marriage already. Because if the man becomes a passive observer in his own home, and capitulates to his wife, and I'm not talking about man being Tarzan Kawabunga. I'm talking about the primordial role in creation in which man was created and woman was created. And each one has their own separate roles in that relationship, so that the kids can identify with their father and identify with the mother, but in two different ways. So they will have a secure relationship to this world, to this life. And I speak in practical terms here. I'm not dogmatic. I just know from all my experiences, from life experiences. Listen, my mother's family were Maronite Catholics. And my grandfather was Orthodox. And yet we never heard of anything about my grandmother's religious background, even though her brother was a Maronite bishop. They never made a distinction. They felt when they were joined in marriage that they were united in everything. And there has to be this notion somehow that when a couple comes together to get married, don't you think that each one gives something of themselves to the relationship and sacrifices something? If there is no sacrifice in a marriage, like Father Schmemann says, this marriage is doomed. And also the marriages the idea of marriage is the goal to the kingdom of God. Are there two different kingdoms of God? So I like to pose the question, especially to those that belong to the Western tradition. Especially, and I'm not banging on Roman Catholics. Please don't ever think that. But it's been my experience in French Canada, Quebec I mean, that they were raised in the Roman Catholic Church or the Italian Catholic Church. So that kind of was the norm. However, I think the idea of marriage is a couple moving toward the kingdom of God. And that means that we all sacrifice something in that relationship in order that there will be only oneness in our home and no division. You cannot imagine the kinds of things that I've heard over the years as a priest when it comes to religion and marriage. And I always thought to myself, if you're coming to get married, don't you want this marriage to succeed? Don't each one of you give the gift of oneself to the other in order for this marriage to move forward towards the kingdom of God? We don't have two separate kingdoms or heavens, and I dare say there's no religion in the kingdom of God. There's neither male nor female, but all are one in the kingdom of God. And that is what the marriage is supposed to be pointing towards, and to lead our children towards. But unfortunately, marriage has taken upon a materialistic dimension. In the kingdom of God, the idea of the kingdom of God is left aside. That's just for the priest. That's just for church people. We don't build up a kingdom to ourselves. All that says in the funeral service are dust and ashes. Where is the gold and the silver? Where is the household clamor? And there's dust and ashes. And that's the couple have made a journey together in unity toward the kingdom of God, laying aside any religious particularism which can kill the spirit of faith and love. Thank you.